Good evening to one and all present here. I am Arundhati Mukherjee from Revert Media, and we are delighted to have you present at this webinar today. We welcome you all to today's webinar on the topic Challenges in High-Rise Pumping. This webinar is organized by Indian Concrete Institute, New Delhi Center in association with Civil Engineering and Construction Review, powered by Revert Media Private Limited. We would like to begin this webinar by welcoming engineer Mayank Rawal, who is the Director of Asian Laboratories and Co-Chairman, Indian Concrete Institute, New Delhi Center.
Thank you. I am Mayank Rawal, Co-Chairman, ICI New Delhi Center. Welcome you all. It's my great pleasure to invite you all today for the 9th webinar in the series of webinar our center is holding. Today's presentation is on challenges in the high-rise pumping. I welcome speaker for today's presentation, Dr. Anuj Maheshwari ji, Vice President, Concrete Structures and Architecture, Reliance Industries Limited. I also welcome today's panelist, a very renowned name in the concrete technology, Engineer Manish Mokal, DGM Quality Excellence Cell Headquarters, Afcons Infrastructure Limited, Mumbai. I also would like to welcome today's moderator, Engineer Rajiv Singhal, Chief Engineer, CPWD, and Chairman, ICI New Delhi Center. I welcome ICI New Delhi Center team. I welcome ICI President Headquarters, Engineer Vinay Gupta ji, ICI Vice President North, Engineer Supradeep Das, Chairman, New Delhi Center, Engineer Rajiv Singhal ji. I welcome our Honorary Secretary, Dr. PVL Kanta Rao ji. I welcome our Treasurer, PB Wadhwa ji. I also like to welcome media partner, Messrs. Revert Media and CECR team, especially Mr. Prabir Bhattacharya ji. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Introducing to you all Engineer Rajiv Singhal, who is a Chief Engineer in CPWD and Chairman, Indian Concrete Institute, New Delhi Center. I would like to request Rajiv sir to introduce ICI All India and ICI New Delhi Center to the audience. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. I am Rajiv Singhal, Chairman, ICI NDC. Well, ICI was founded on 7th of September in 1982 in Chennai. It's a non-profit organization which aims to promote use of concrete and to promote research in concrete technology. ICI has got more than 13,000 members spread all over the country with more than 44 centers. New Delhi Center is one of those 44 centers, and we have got around 300 members in this center. And I will use this occasion to request all those who are present who have joined us to become members of ICI if they are not members of this organization still. Well, ICI NDC started this series of webinars from 31st of July, and this is our 11th webinar in that series and 9th webinar in association with CENCR, Construction Engineering and Civil Engineering and Construction Review, along with their media partners, Revert Media. So this is our 9th webinar which we are holding in association with them, and we hope that this process will continue in the coming times also. ICI NDC now again is planning to hold a webinar on every Saturday 4 to 6 p.m. We have already planned webinars for the next 2 Saturdays, so I would request all of you to kindly join us at the same time on next Saturday also. ICI NDC had planned to hold ACCON 2020 as a physical event in September 2020, but we could not hold it due to the pandemic situation. So now we are thinking of holding it in the first quarter of the coming year, and we will give you the details before we start that. Today's webinar is on challenges in high-rise pumping, and this is one of its kind webinar because earlier our webinars were focusing more on use of concrete and its applications. Now this is dealing with the machinery and the challenge of high-rise pumping. And I especially have a special interest in it because as a part of CPWD, now we are building multi-rise buildings. We are going to construct 25 to 30-story buildings right in Delhi. And this kind of, this kind of technology, this kind of challenges we are going to face. And I am very hopeful that we will also find some solutions from the webinar today. So I welcome you all to this webinar. Thank you. And now I would request CNCR and Revert Media to give the presentation. Yeah.
Civil Engineering and Construction Review, a leading infrastructure monthly on methods, materials, and machinery. Celebrating 34 years of publication. CE&CR is India's #1 infrastructure monthly news journal for the past 34 years. We have been providing discerning knowledge and an unmatched coverage of the construction sector since 1988. Get social with the largest online construction media network of India. Civil Engineering and Construction Review provides a valuable, informative, unmatched high-quality content. It is the most circulated magazine in India, having a readership over 17 countries worldwide. Google ranked #1 under the search of Civil Engineering Magazine India and Construction Magazine India. We have a 5-star rating as well. Currently stands at 58,000 plus followers on Facebook. 16,500 plus industry professionals connected on LinkedIn. You can also find us on other social media platforms such as Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and SoundCloud. No one around us in India. CE&CR has been awarded the prestigious Best News Magazine by CIDC in the year 2014 and 2019. Best Publication Award by the ACCEI in 1991. Designated for International Quality Summit Award in Gold category in Paris by BID in the year 2012. We cover topics such as roads and pavements, bridges, construction equipment, concreting, precast, high-rise structures, waterproofing, and many more. CE&CR is read by construction companies, contractors, builders, government departments, public sector undertakings, building material and equipment manufacturers, consultant and architectural engineers, research institutes, polytechnics and colleges. Connect with the most circulated and trusted magazine in India.
Introducing Revered Media, a 360 degrees logistic solutions of business events. Who we are and what we do. Revered Media is an independent, full-service, professional logistics solutions company for business events. We specialize in corporate events with end-to-end event project management. Our commitment is to see each event through from the start to finish, while keeping the goals, vision, budget, and our clients' needs in mind at all times. We manage your events from conceptualization to execution, saving you the long hours, late nights, and endless emails so that you can focus on what's essential to you. We represent leading international exhibition organizers for promotion of their shows in India as well. Our unique selling proposition are: we have a focused and contemporary approach, wide contacts, rich experience in conceiving and managing high-profile events, working within deadlines and budget with maximum mileage and strong marketing instincts. We specialize in various types of events such as webinars, seminars, conferences, exhibitions, social media marketing, EDMs and e-newsletters, workshops, promotional advertisement and designing, public relations, product launch, award ceremonies, road shows, and many more. Our vision includes growth, innovation, affordability, and quality services. Contact us and join hands with Revered Media.
Now I request Engineer Mayank Rawal to introduce President ICI All India, Engineer Vinay Gupta, to the audience.
It's my great honor to introduce a personality very well known in the civil engineering fraternity, is a backbone of our ICI. Engineer Vinay Gupta is a graduate in civil engineering from BITS Pilani in the year 1983. He has served Span Consultants Private Limited, Stoop Consultants before joining Tandon Consultants Private Limited in 87, where he is serving as a CEO. Engineer Vinay Gupta has been involved in planning, designing, and coordination of design, detailing, and tender preparation of various bridges, flyovers, vehicular underpasses, long span and tall buildings, steel structures, chimneys, and quality control documents. He is an active member of various codes and standard committees of BIS and IRC in India, dealing with earthquake engineering, special structures, loads and stresses, concrete bridges, gearings and expansion joints, etc. He has been honored with awards for the best paper titled Seismic Design and Construction of Radisson Hotel, New Delhi, and launching systems for segmental bridges, both by IBC and Pre-Stressed Concrete Design Award 2013 by IEI, Institute of Engineers, India. He has authored over 50 technical papers in civil engineering journals and conferences, and has been lecturing as guest faculty in NITH, CRRI, CIDC, ISDA, PPC, etc. Engineer Vinay Gupta is currently the president of Indian Concrete Institute and also Indian Institute of Bridge Engineers, vice president of Indian Association of Structural Engineers and Asian Concrete Federation. He is also director of and CEO of Tandon Consultant Private Limited. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Awal. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, all the participants, moderator, panelists, and everybody. First of all, I must congratulate New Delhi team of ICI for being so vibrant. Let me tell you, friends, this team is backed by strong energy of our Vice President North, Mr. Subradip Das, Delhi Center Chairperson, Ms. Engineer Rajiv Singhal, who is of course Chief Engineer of CPWD as well, Co-Chairman Engineer Mayank Rawal, who of course happens to be the MD of the company Asian Lab, Dr. VVL Kanta Rao, he is the Honorary Secretary of Delhi Center. Today he is not available, he said. Engineer BB Wadhwa, who is the Honorary Treasurer, who is amongst us today, we can see him. And of course, the entire set of EC members and the members beyond EC. So friends, as Mr. Rajiv Singhal already told you, that today we have grown from a strength of 500 members spread over 5 centers in 1982, when ICI started in Chennai and few places there, to 13,000 members spread over 44 centers, and there are 275 over student chapters. And all this has happened in a small period, let's call it small period of 4 decades, 39 years to be precise. But what worries me is that people still do not have that kind of an enthusiasm that I would normally expect. In our country, we have approximately 20 lakh civil engineers. The membership strength is barely 0.75%. I hope we can soon make it 1%, thereafter 2%, and some good number, which shows the solidarity among civil engineers, unlike many other professions. Coming to this difficult times of pandemic, lockdowns, slowdowns, and all those things, whatever I am told by the cement manufacturing companies, that things have not gone down. Demand is fairly high. And as a result, if you see, the cost of cement and steel both have been increasing, which is a good sign for civil engineering that things are in demand. Projects are there, structures are there, construction is on. Maybe some sectors are not doing as well as the other, but the life is on, I must say. We have learned a new normal, that is to have these online digital platform, conferences, meetings, and so on. But still there is something that obviously lacks in this. So we do this as a combination, in combination with in-person events. So realizing that way, ICI held its annual, general meeting, AGM, along with governing council meeting, which is quarterly, in Mangalore just last month. And the next one will be held in Kochi on 11th of December, which will be a governing council meeting. And thereafter, very soon, we will also have awards. So all these will be in-person events now. So I hope things keep on improving the way they are improving, and we go on having in-person events in combination with web events like we're having today, so that it makes a good sense to make it easy as well as make it more interesting to also be physically present and meet each other and get a better picture of what is happening and what the person is trying to convey and what you're trying to understand, what you could not understand and therefore you need to understand, and so on and so forth. In fact, on 19th and 20th of November, if you can make note of it, we are also holding a workshop in which is head office event, ICI head office event in Chennai, on the topic of repairs, retrofitting and rehabilitation of structures, and all structures, bridges, buildings, chimneys, and whatever kind you can think of, by eminent experts from all over the country. And I'll also be going there on 19th and 20th, that is Friday and Saturday in November. Coming to this event that we have today, it's absolutely a must event. We can't do without it. We have been hearing of pumping of concrete for ages, maybe 30 years now. At least I've been hearing of concreting for 30 years through pumping, and lots of issues about concrete getting jammed or slump, how much it should be, whether it should be 70 or 80 or 100 or 150 or 200 or more than 200, or it should be self-compacting concrete. So we have able speaker today, Dr. Anuj Maheshwari from Reliance. We also have our moderator, of course, none other than our chairman, Engineer Rajiv Singhal. We have a panelist, Engineer Manik Mokal. So with these experts amongst us, we must make use the best use of this event that we have today, learning about how these multi-story buildings can be constructed with the help of pumping of concrete. The issue that I can think of as a layman means I'm not an expert of pumping of concrete and all, is that when you have a 1 kilometer high building, or somebody was constructing 60-story building, which would be as much as about 200 to 50 meters high, how do you pump concrete so high? How much pressure, what pressure can you apply physically in the today's state of affairs of the facilities that we have? One thing I've heard is that after about 10 stories or so, you pour it in a hopper and then repump. But that's a crude way of thinking. If there's something that is much better, much efficient, which can just run straight away as many meters, that would be the best that we can think of. And for that, whatever is needed, whether more fines are needed, whether more admixtures are needed, or more slump is needed, I'm sure people like Dr. Anuj Maheshwari and all your able team will be able to enlighten us as to if a building is 1 kilometer high, like talk of this our Burj Khalifa and all that, and if it had to be all in concrete till the top, how would the concrete reach? It's a vital issue. We talk of fire problems, how a fire tender will reach, how a fire extinguisher pipe, etc. will reach. Fine, that's one limitation, but that comes later. First, we should construct and see whether we need to worry about fire first. So first, concrete. Well, concrete to jai. So let us see how concreting would be done for a tall building. So with these words, I think I must say that all the best to you, to me, to all of us, and hope we learn a good lesson as to what would be done when it's a tall building. So Dr. Anuj Maheshwari, of course, let's go with the format, but I'm eager to listen to you. Only thing I'm available only for a few minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I would like to request our moderator for the day, Engineer Rajiv Singhal, to introduce our esteemed speakers and panelists of today's webinar. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Ruduti. Now we have a very interesting topic today. As Mr. Vinay Gupta has said, challenges in high-rise pumping. So our speaker for the day is Dr. Anuj Maheshwari, who is Vice President Concrete Structures and Architecture in Reliance Industries Limited. He has done his BTech in Civil Engineering from IIT Kanpur in 1989, followed by his MTech in Structures from University in Roorkee in 1991, and then PhD from IIT Delhi in concrete technology in 2015. He started his career from Regional Engineering College, Kota, as a lecturer. Then he has worked with various companies like Unitech Prefab Limited, ACC Concrete, Heading North, RMC Division, IGM SCL Joint Venture, Ashoka Buildcon Limited, Ultratech Cement, and now presently he is in Reliance Industries Limited. And his areas of research interest are concrete, self-compacting concrete, high-performance concrete, high-strength concrete, high-volume fly ash concrete, SFRC, and use of alternate materials in concrete, sustainability aspects of concrete, durability, waterproofing, repairs, etc. So we are all eager to hear Dr. Anuj Maheshwari. And now I would also give a brief introduction of our panelists for the day, Mr. Manish Mokal. He is DGM Quality Excellence Cell in Afcons Infrastructure Limited. He has done his MTech in structures and presently he is pursuing his PhD. He has earlier worked with Hindustan Construction Company, GBK, and governments. He has worked on several prestigious infrastructure projects like Bandra Worli Sea Link, Rajasthan Atomic Power Plant, hydro projects in Ladakh, Mumbai International Airport, Rohtang Tunnel, Kolkata Metro, etc. He is also a co-author of the book Handbook on Advanced Concrete Technology and Handbook on Quality and Productivity Improvement in Concrete, which were published in 2012 and 2018. He is also a visiting faculty at Sardar Patel Engineering College, Mumbai, and he was one of the team members to receive National Award from the Ministry of Power, Ministry of Environment and Forest, and Department of Science and Technology on fly ash utilization in SCC. We welcome our panelist, Mr. Manish Mokal. Thank you. I would request Mr. Anuj Maheshwari to share his screen and start his presentation.
Is my screen visible to all?
Yeah, it is visible. Yeah.
I'm putting on
Full screen mode.
full screen mode now,
Yeah,
and I hope I'm audible as well.
yeah, you are audible.
That's great. So thank you so much. And to begin with, I express my deep gratitude to Indian Concrete Institute Delhi chapter for providing me this opportunity to share my experience and learnings on using concrete pumping and what challenges we could face with high-rise pumping. So I would be happy to, if I could able to, let's say, generate interest and generate some awareness amongst the participants here. So a very warm good evening to one and all. And friends, as there is a rapid urbanization is taking place, and we have limited space, especially in metros. So we are going for the high-rise construction, high-rise building constructions to address for the livelihood and to address for the need for housing and all that. So a lot of high-rise buildings have been constructed in past, let's say starting from Canary Wharf Tower at London, Empire State Building at New York, Petronas Towers at Kuala Lumpur, CS Towers Chicago, Taipei 101, and the latest one have been the Burj Khalifa Dubai. And looking to that trend, I think number of high-rise projects have started coming in our country as well. And especially if we talk about Mumbai, a lot of projects up to, let's say, 300 meters, 320 meters are already executed, 88 floors, World 1 280 meters height, 76 floors, and so on. And also there are a number of projects that are under construction. So to talk about the highest project that is under construction as per Wikipedia details is 360 West Tower at Mumbai, 361 meters high, 90 floors. Lopanwala Minerva 296 meters, 331 meters, Ocean Tower 1 and 2, and so on. So it is a time that we should start understanding about the concrete basics. And if we, I'm sure if we understand concrete basics properly, handling pumpable concrete is not an issue. So this is the agenda that I propose to cover. Why pumped concrete, type of pumps, concrete rheology, pumpability, high-rise pumping, couple of cases. I have also tried to include one case study on Burj Khalifa, Dubai. If my time permits, we'll go through the do's and don'ts for the pumping and finally conclusion. As we know that the quantity, cost effectiveness and speed are the three main pillars that any project looks for. And if we talk about the concrete pumping, it addresses all the three in a very subtle way. Coming to why we need a pump concrete, very basic let's say assertions. Concrete placed with pump assures a steady flow of concrete directly to the placement site. So we are not let's say handling it or rehandling it again and again. It eliminates segregation caused by dumping. It allows the workmen to perform at a steady and efficient pace. So we are talking about, let's say, 30 cubic meters per hour pour, or let's say 50 cubic meters per hour pour. So rate of construction becomes tremendously good. Concrete placed with pumps is economical. It reduces the unloading time of transit mixers. It reduces labor requirements at both ends of the processes. And there's no need to shovel or rehandle the concrete. We have cleaner sites. Concrete pump can reach across all sort of landscape areas, muddy sites, lawns. So if we have to add up a couple of those, concrete pumping is perhaps the right solution for the concrete placement. Concrete pump reduces traffic in and around casting sites. Concrete pump eliminate need for the wheelbarrows or buckets and reduce spillages and hence the wastages. Pumping is used for both transportation and placement of the concrete, and it combines, let's say, placement, vertical placement up to, let's say, from 30 meters to 500 meters, maybe 600 meters at one go, and horizontal placements at from, let's say, 90 meters to 1000 meters. And I think in India we have successfully done some over a 2 kilometer horizontal pumping as well. It can place concrete in congested sites with little access otherwise, and pumping rates ranges from, let's say, 10 cubic meter per hour to, let's say, 75 cubic meters per hour. Coming to the type of pumps, we have a different type of pumps. We have piston type pumps, we have peristaltic pumps or the squeeze grid pumps. We have pneumatic placers as well. Coming to piston pumps, it could be either mechanical type of pump or hydraulic type of pump. Under hydraulic, it can be trailer mounted pump or mobile boom pump. I'll just let you through the visuals here. So this is a typical mechanical pump. So we have a piston. We have a piston here. We have a hopper which is filled with concrete. We have one valve here. When this valve is open, concrete flows by gravity, by weight, into the pipeline, and piston pushes. When the piston pushes, this gate valve is closed, and the gate valve on the pipe is opened up. So concrete pushes this piston pushes the concrete, let's say, in one stroke. So it is a stroke-wise placement of concrete. Another type of concrete pumps are the hydraulic pumps. Here we have two pipelines, outgoing pipelines, which alternately push concrete into the one single pipe, which is added up in front of these two pipes. So we have different system of gate valves here. The initial system of gate valves happens to be the flat gate valve system. So we have one flat gate valve here and one flat gate valve here. One below the hopper and one in front of the pipes here. Or another sort of gate valve system could be S valve system or rock valve system here. So what happens that around this hinge, this gate valve or this rock valve or S valve rotates. It pushes concrete through one pipe in one go and to another pipe at another go. So this animation will let's say clarify how the concrete is pumped here. So we have a hopper here in between above this particular region here. So concrete is sucked in just like we suck injection, suck medicine, injectable IV medicine in the syringe. So concrete is sucked here in this operation and then pushed in another operation. And this process happens with alternatively. And this gate valve, let's say, changes position from one pipe to another in an alternate manner with the help of the hydraulic circuit, which is, let's say, provided with the pump. So this is a broad, let's say, working of concrete pumps that enable you, and we can have different, let's say, system of gate valves here. This picture shows us let's say, trailer-mounted concrete pump. Here, this concrete pump is towed away to the construction sites with the help of doing vehicle, and we need to assemble the pipelines, which are 3 meters in size, 125 mm MS pipes, manually with the help of couplers, and takes a lot of time for let's say mobilization the concrete pump and pipelines at site. Another variant is the mobile concrete boom sort of pump. Here we have this mobile foldable boom along which the pipelines are attached here, and the moment this mobile concrete pump reaches site, it settles down at site, jacks it up, and concrete transit mixers come, unloads concrete in the hopper, and we can start pumping right away. So there is no or lesser, let's say, mobilization time at site for the concrete mobile boom pumps. The only limitation here that we have a fixed length of concrete booms. So the height of concrete pumping at times becomes a limitation. Another type of pumps are the peristaltic pumps. So we also know these type of pumps as squeeze crete pumps. What happens here that we have a tube, we have a central rotator here, we have rollers at different configurations here. We have idler roller as well. So the central rotator moves. We have a tube which contains the let's say motor sort of material, and while, let's say, it rotates, it just squeezes out the motor and enables the motor to be pumped at the required location or position. Yeah. So this process is entirely, let's say, similar to the way that we take out the toothpaste out of the tube, and we just squeeze the tube and the paste comes out. In the same process, these pumps perform. Another method of placement is the pneumatic placer. So this is a batch process of placement. We fill up this hopper, and then in batches, let's say we, with the help of pneumatic pressure, we place concrete to the required locations. Coming to the concrete rheology, because till date, concrete happens to be a material which was quite stiff and solid material, particulate material. So first we look into the comparison between the conventionally made concrete and the present day concrete that we are handling as of now. So conventionally, we were having a volumetric batching, so that calls for the more cement. We were doing the manual placements, so lesser slims were required, less fines were required, and the workability was adjusted by water, which was handled by the concrete this mixer operator visually. In present day concrete, since we are following the wave hatching, we are using different supplementary cementitious materials. Hence, we have very optimized cement contents in our mixes, and we have a large amount of supplementary cementitious materials as well. To place these concretes, we are now, let's say, following mechanical placements. So we have to work with the highly workable mixes, and to handle the high workable mixes, we have to have higher fines. And concrete workability is adjusted by use of chemical admixtures, various admixtures. So use of mineral admixtures, use of the chemical admixtures are must here when we are talking of present day concrete. And since we are talking of mechanical placement, it could be, let's say, with respect to placement with the help of a crane and bucket system, or placement with respect to concrete pump. So we are talking of high flowing concrete. So concrete now is idealized, or let's say modeled as a fluid. So all the laws that we have studied in our civil engineering curriculum for the fluids, in fluid mechanics, so all those laws apply to the concrete as well. And I'll not go into the physics, the mathematics part of the fluid mechanics, just a conceptual part. And I'm sure that once we are clear with the concepts and how to proportion concrete, what are the important parameters that are involved while proportioning concrete, while pumping concrete, then it is a fun for a concrete engineer to work for the pumpable concrete. So we all know that there are different types of fluids that are available with us, and the basic type is known as the Newtonian fluid. So if we have a shear stress versus a shear rate graph plotted here, so it is a linear relationship which passes through the origin. That means the moment we apply a little shear stress on the fluid, there is a shearing in the fluid and it moves. We have different variations. It may be either shear thinning sort of fluid or shear thickening sort of the fluid. Another type of fluid is there, which is known as the Bingham fluid. In Bingham fluid, what happens that if we apply a small shear stress, the fluid doesn't move. It resists the movement. So we need to have a certain critical shear stress below which there would not be any, let's say, shear strain produced there in the fluid. And beyond this critical shear stress, the moment we apply additional stress, there is the relationship between the shear stress and the shear rate is again a linear relationship. But the only thing is this is having a critical shear stress component here. And concrete can be very well idealized as a Bingham fluid. And all the laws that the Bingham fluids laws that are applied to the Bingham fluids are applied to the concrete as well. Also, it is important to note the flow pattern. For the Newtonian fluid, we have a laminar flows. So we have the velocity profile is like that we have zero velocity at the pipeline end. It increases gradually and reaches to the maximum at the center of the pipeline, and then reduces back to zero at the another end of the pipeline. So this is the way the laminar flow takes place in lamellars in layers basically. And there's another sort of flow that is called as a plug flow. What happens here, the velocity distribution remains fairly, let's say, uniform all across the cross section, you can say. So the velocity of the particle here or particle here or particle here is the same under pressure, difference that the fluid is moving. So at t is equal to 0, this particle is here. At t is equal to t plus delta t, it reaches here. And similarly, this particle reaches here. So there is no relative displacement between the particles when the plug flow takes place. Coming to the pumpability issues, the concrete, we cannot say this is 100% solid or 100% fluid. So it is a in-between material here. So concrete is also, as we know, is a thixotropic material. So if we are not, let's say, what is thixotropic? If we are not, let's say, if we leave concrete as it is, it appears to be a solid material. And the moment we start applying a shear stress to it or remix it, it again attains the fluid, let's say, form of the concrete. So flow of the concrete, it flows in form of plug separated from pipe wall by a thin layer of lubricating mortar. So if I, let's say, discuss with respect to this figure here, so this is a concrete pipeline. We have a very thin layer of lubricating mortar across, which is in between the main mass of the concrete and between the pipeline. And this thin layer of mortar is very, very important to enable concrete for a right pumping, to lower the pressures of the pumping here. We also note that, since at pipeline end, the velocity profile velocity is 0, and it increases to maximum here, average velocity at which the concrete is being pumped. And for the mass of the concrete, the velocity profile remains same, uniform. So there is no, let's say, change in velocity profile that we observed under the laminar flow or the Newtonian fluids, right? And let's say there is no relative velocity between the aggregate particles for a straight pipe of constant cross section. So what particle is there at t is equal to 0? The same set of particles we'll find at the t plus delta t. Lubricating layer or the slip layer is also commonly called. Here the pipe boundary is essential for the pumpability. So this is the crux. This is what we need to understand, that while proportioning concrete, we need to have sufficient paste or sufficient mortar, which should be oozed out. How it oozes out? That the compacting effect of pressure consolidates the forces, consolidates and forces the grout out. So under pressure, if the proportioning is correct, a small amount of grout is pushed out, which forms a layer between pipeline and the mass of the concrete. And also the troweling effect due to the frictional drag at the pipeline boundary push the grout out. So these are the two basic mechanisms by which the this mortar or the grout is pulled out, and this thin lubricating layer is formed in between the mass of the concrete and the pipeline. So this is the crux of the concrete pumping. If we understand it clearly, then we can design any sort of mix that can be pumped. Also very important as a concept is when when we talk of concrete, concrete is a particulate material. We are using all the constituents that we are using in manufacture of concrete are particles basically. The coarse aggregate 20 mm down or 10 mm down are particles basically. So the different gradation of particles are there. And for the basic the basic property of particle is, we have voids in between the particles depending on the shape, texture, size, and the size ratios that we are having. And this particular voids are very, very important, and these voids are the main heart or the main concept in the concrete mix design. So the whole concept of proportioning concrete is how we can reduce the voids in the aggregate system, how we can reduce voids in the cementitious system, how we can reduce, how we can design the paste when we are talking of high performance concrete, how we can design the paste volumes, how much paste volume should be there. So these are the basic concepts that we talk about when we are talking about the proportioning of the concrete mix. Specifically when we are talking about the special concretes like self-compacting concrete, because self-compacting concrete happens to be one step further, let's say, application of the pumpable concrete. So when the paste is sufficient, so if we take a concrete mix, if we try to make a concrete, we put aggregates, we put let's say binders, and when we start adding the water, initially the concrete is quite stiff. it is not a concrete, it is more of an aggregate system, or the particulate systems is quite stiff here. When we start adding water, it starts to loosen out, and when we have sufficient water, which fills up all the voids, still the mix is quite stiff here, and we have a slightly higher, let's say, paste volume than the voids. Then all the aggregates start becoming into the suspension mode. All the aggregates are in suspended form. So at this point, the mix suddenly collapses down. So this is what we have to understand and design our concrete mixes to achieve the workability, initial workability, and the final workability. So when the paste is sufficient to fill up the voids between the aggregates and is available in excess, so that it can form a thin lubricating layer, having sufficient water so that the aggregates could remain suspended to allow for minimum frictional resistance, then it is said to be in saturated state. So what happens that when concrete happens to be in unsaturated state, this is a graph between the axial pressure to overcome the friction between the concrete and the pipeline, and water cement ratio. So no admixtures are used in, let's say, in these studies, and this study is taken from from Brown and Bamforth. I'm sorry that I could not attach the acknowledgement here. Brown and Bamforth in 1977. So when concrete happens to be in unsaturated state, so this frictional force is quite high and a lot of pressure is required for the pumping. Perhaps concrete cannot be pumped at this stage. And there's a transition stage. When the concrete becomes saturated, this pressure drops suddenly. And concrete can be pumped very, very easily at much lesser pressure. You can see that around, let's say, 20 kilonewtons per millimeter square we can pump, as against, let's say, 105 if the concrete happens to be in unsaturated stage up to, let's say between the transition point. So the saturation of concrete is very important as a concept. Number two, when the concrete happens to be in saturated state, the radial and axial pressures are same. So a lot of studies have concluded that the radial pressure and the axial pressures are same, and the fines content is important in this type of mix. Also, too much cohesiveness due to excess cement and fines may prevent formation of the lubricating layer. So what is important that when we talk of idealization of concrete flow in the pipeline, so this is a concrete pipe, MS pipe. So we have a thin, let's say, lubricating film of water and cement paste here. It is under pressure, so there is a resistance from the opposite side. So concrete as a whole moves with the velocity v here. So we have resistance and the drag forces here. So this is the basic physics here. Also important concept here is, suppose we have a bath of water and we have three different type of specimens with us. One is a wooden specimen, one is a stone, and another is a steel specimen here. What happens here? Since wood, the specific gravity of wood is less than the specific gravity of water, of course, the wooden specimen floats, and other two are quite heavy. So these two drowns and let's say rest at the bottom, right? Now we change the water to a thick fluid, viscous, having higher, let's say, specific gravity. What happens? You know, the wooden, let's say, specimen is further pushed up, and perhaps at a right, let's say, specific gravity or the viscosity of the fluid here, this stone comes in between, and still heavier material is still, let's say, rest at the bottom of the container. So this is a concept, another concept that is important for us to understand, because this fluid is what is a paste or the mortar component that we talk about. So a right combination, a right design of mortar where we want these stones to be in a floating or a suspended stage is what our aim is while designing the pumpable concrete mix. So you know, as long as the mix, that is the cement plus fines plus water, so the paste or the mortar part, I'll also define these fines in subsequent slides. So as long as the mix is thick enough stones will remain floating and can be transported. So again, try to imagine that if we have a lot of water in our mix, and what we are defining mix as the cement, fines, and water. If the water content is high, perhaps this will start segregating itself. And the moment it is segregating, that means we are going to have a breach in this lubricating film of water. So a right combination of cement, fines, and water is very important. And also we need to, let's say, when we talk of rheology, we are talking of critical shear stress and the viscosity of the mix. Then this viscosity becomes important to for us to understand. And we need to start analyzing our mix in terms of the viscosity, rather than, let's say, having fines or other proportions. So it is thick enough to stones will remain floating and can be transported easily under pressure differential. Also, very important concept is the sponge effect. So when consider that we have a sponge here and we apply pressure, what happens that the excess water starts oozing out of the sponge. So if our concrete mix can be idealized as a sponge, and a sponge is not able to, let's say, retain water, so under a smaller pressure, if it starts, let's say, if the water is forced out, mixed water is forced out, then the particle interlocking starts taking place, and this thin lubricating layer breaches out, and these aggregate particles start reaching the pipeline. So the frictional force becomes very high, and it results in the choking of the pipeline. So if the pump pressure forces water out ahead of the mix, and this could be because of any reason. So what are those reasons that we'll see in the subsequent slides? A rock jam occurs, and a friction between the aggregate and the pipe wall increases, and concrete stops moving. So this is a situation we refer to as the pipelines are choked or the pipeline is jammed, and it takes a lot of time and energy. And at times, if this jam is very heavy, we cannot even clean the pipelines. We need to discard the pipelines. So just like a sponge, if we have to have adequate fines that it is pushed out to the pipe walls, and this lubricates up. So again, what is being emphasized here, that the lubricating film of water and cement is important, and for this particular slip layer. When we talk of slip layer, what are the constituents? As we have seen that the constituents are water, cement, and fine sand. What are fine sand? So here we define this fine sand as particles lesser than the 25 micron size, or 0.25 mm. So whatever particles in fine aggregates we are having less than 25 microns are to be considered, along with the finer materials. It can be cement, cementitious, fly ash, GGBS if we have in our mix. So all those constitutes the lubricating layer. And if we talk about, let's say, on what factors this slip layer thickness depends, whether we need smaller fines or the larger fines, larger thickness, then it is a function of the cement base volume. It is a function of water cement ratio. It's a function of type and dosage of superplasticizer, amount of fines in sand, or the amount of fine sand, of course, length and diameter of pipeline as well. And how much thick is this lubricating layer is. So typically various research indicate that the thickness of the slip layer is around 2 millimeters or so. So irrespective of the different type of mixes that are being pumped, so the number of mixes are analyzed, this thickness of slip layers happens to be in a range of 2 millimeters or so. So if our concrete mix is too lean, stones try to settle down to the bottom and jam the pipeline. Or if lubricant, that is cement, water, and fines, is lost somehow, it results in again a rock jam. And if water bleeds off the concrete, the result is also the same. So what is very important here, it says that we should have a right consistency, and the cohesion of the mix is very important. So mix should not segregate, mix should not, let's say, bleed. When the mix is bleeding, then also our concrete pipeline is bound to choke. So these are a couple of, These are a couple of examples where which could result in the choking of pipelines. Suppose under pressure, we are pumping here from this end to this end, and we have a leaking coupling of the seal. So what happens that, there is a mound that is found here, concrete starts, let's say, settling down. So this the corner of hard material starts building up. This reduces the cross-sectional area as well. And the lubricating layer starts, let's say, being lost. And the moment there's a breach in the lubricating layers, the aggregates start, let's say, reaching up to the pipeline, and that increases the frictional force and results in the choking of the pipeline. So this gives us as an idea of what all, let's say, precautions that needs to be taken up when we are talking about how to avoid the pipeline choking. This is a classic case of the leaking spectacle plate in the pump hopper. So when the piston is pushing the concrete here, and if there is the gap between the spectacle plate is higher, then again the lot of mortar is lost out here, and the same let's say corner of hard material start building up here at both the sides here, and this reduces the cross-sectional area and increases the frictional force, and the moment this layer is breached out, it results in the choking of the pipeline. Yeah. So coming to the impact of the various factors on the pumpability. So this particular graph taken from the Brown and Bamforth study in 1977. This graph is plotted between the cement content and the voids content. So the basic mix was taken, not even the admixtures were taken. So the cement, sand, and aggregates were taken for this study. So what we see, the moment we have low voids, even with the low cement contents, we are in position to design a pumpable mix. This is a readily pumpable region. These are the marginal pumping region, and the extreme regions are, let's say, having a high resistance. At when the voids are very, very high, then of course the segregation takes place, or the bleeding starts in the mix. So at a low void content of the aggregate system, even at lower, let's say, binder content, we can easily design the concrete mix for us. The moment the void contents are medium, we need to have a higher, let's say, binder contents to enable us to have a good pumpable mix. The moment we have very high, let's say, void content, then perhaps it would be very, very difficult to design a pumpable mix. So what is very important is the aggregate shape, size, and the compactability of the aggregates, so that we have a low void contents. So the aggregate properties, to a very, very large extent, govern the pumpability of the mix. And perhaps at the lower slump as well, we can pump the concrete mix if we have a lower void contents. So see the different aspects in subsequent slides. This is a plot between the increase in flow resistance, that is the frictional flow, versus slump. We have 3-inch slump, we have 8-inch slump, it's a 3 centimeter, 30 mm, 80 mm, and 130 mm. At very low slump, we have very high frictional force, so large pressures are required. The moment we have a right slump with us, again, slump is a property which correlates between the right, let's say, workability of the mix, the saturation of the mix that we talked about earlier. So at the right workability, we have optimum or the minimum, let's say, flow resistance. And this is a relative graph, so it is not a zero resistance. This is the minimum resistance with respect to that. And we have 16 mm maximum size of aggregate, and this plot is the lower plot is there for the 38 mm size of maximum size of aggregate. So the size of aggregate as well have an impact, as because the void ratios and the porosity changes with the aggregate size. Surface area also decreases with increasing size. This graph is plotted again between the increase in flow resistance on the y-axis versus the cement content or the fines content, you can say. So what is a learning here? Absolute numbers are not very important. That depends on the binder system that we are talking about. And at that point of time, the pure OPC or the cement content, cements were used for doing the studies. So the cement contents were plotted here. So we can also extrapolate it with the binder content or the cementitious contents. So what is important, again, there is an optimum. If we have a very lesser cement content or the binder contents, the flow resistance, the friction resistance are bound to be very high. If we have excess of fines, then also the flow resistance is going to be sufficiently high. So for a good pumpable mix, we need to, let's say, have a robustness in the mix. So we need to, let's say, design our concrete mix around this region so that, it can have a good, let's say, margin of variation that can be absorbed in with the variation in the raw material properties. Coming to the effect of the aggregates, that are the fine particles, the fine aggregates. Again, aggregates are less than 25 micron, added up with the cement contents, so total fines that we are talking about. So the variation is quite similar here. We have an optimum, the minimum here at one location, and much lesser fines also results in a very high friction resistance, high pressures for the pumping, and much higher fines as well results in much higher, let's say, pressure for the pumping. So again, as a concrete technologist, we need to, let's say, keep our fines in this region so that we are very near to the optimum. If we are designing at the minimum, perhaps we are, let's say, playing in the danger zone. The moment we have a little variation in the raw materials, let's say, raw material quality, then that will start showing the impact on the pumping side. So this is a plot between, again, coarse aggregate contents. Yes, of course, if the coarse aggregates are much higher in quantity, that means that we are talking about the lesser paste. So higher the friction resistance. The lower the coarse aggregate contents, 45% and 65%. So the lower the coarse aggregate contents, higher the fines. So the lower would be the friction resistance that we are talking about. Now coming to the recent studies, with a lot of studies, there was almost a lull from, let's say, 77, 80s to, let's say, 2005 or 2003. In between, not much work has been done on the pumping of concrete, but 2003 to 2005 onwards, a lot of work has been undertaken by the various researchers world over. And, the main areas that the recent research is being carried out is for the method of measuring the geological property of the slip layer, not for the concrete. We are talking about the slip layer because this happens to be the critical factor for pumping of concrete. Developing fundamental model for pumping prediction using the geological properties. Conducting all these experiments physically takes a lot of time, energy, and resources. So if we can develop some fundamental modeling, so that we can develop these mathematical models and predict the pumping pressures and how much reduction in the flow resistance we can devise with different type of mixes, and also the factors influencing the pumpability of the concrete. So these are the areas which where the research are happening. And just to give you all a flavor, the recent studies, let's say, are focusing on these four areas, let's say, four concepts, you can say. One school of thought is doing research considering the frictional force in the slip layer is constant regardless of the pumping pressure or velocity. So Sakota et al. In 1989 and Lipovetsky in 1963, they started considering this concept, and they are developing their researches in this area, in these areas. Another school of thought considers the frictional force in the slip layer is linearly proportional to the flow rate of pumping. So Weber in 1968, Morinaga in 1973, Brown and Vanforth in 1977, they propounded this particular school of thought. Another school of thought considered the frictional force in slip layer increases linearly proportional to the normal stress applied on the piping walls. So these researchers happen to be from this school of thought. And the last school of thought considers the frictional force in slip layer is affected by both the flow rate and the normal stress applied on the piping walls. So Tanigawa ETL in 1991, they started with this particular concept. And the recent studies based on the mock-up pumping tests done by Kaplan ETL in 2005, Vaughan in 2013, Choi in 2013, Choi ETL in 2014, Rio ETL in 2005, support the second case where the frictional force in the slip layer is considered as a linearly proportional to the flow rate of pumping. So a lot of things are happening, and it is my interest to, let's say, keep a tab on all these research and keep updating my knowledge and keep sharing with you all. Coming to the effects of pumping on concrete, yeah, if the pipeline length is quite long, or let's say the pipeline height is pumping height is high, then we can expect a drier consistency. The normal, let's say, pumping, these things doesn't hold perceptibly, but yes, this happens. We can expect increase in temperature as well because of the quality of thin lubricating layer in between. If we have a good lubricating layer, this impact would be much lesser. If the frictional resistance is much higher, then the increase in temperature would be much higher. Slight decrease in air content if we are designing mixtures with air, and if we are pumping for a long range horizontally or vertically, then we have to perhaps over-design for the air content as well. No change in strength or shrinkage, although let's say if we are having aluminum pipes, which we already have, we mostly have mild steel pipes, because aluminum reacts with the alkalis in cement. So that could result in, let's say, a little reduction in loss of strength, otherwise no. Coming to the high-res pumping, the topic of the day, because these concepts are very important for us to understand, appreciate, and we understand the concept, then it's a fun, let's say, dealing with the mix design for the concrete. So following aspects should be taken into consideration for planning high-rise concrete pumping. So very important is overall plan of the project. So right from the planning stage, we need to have a discussion with the project people. What is the layout of the project, how we are planning to transport different raw materials, how we are planning to transport concrete, how we are planning to place concrete, whether we are going to use a stationary type of pumps, whether we are going to have a self-landing, let's say, a place a boom type of arrangement for the project, whether we are going to have clean buckets type of system for placing concrete or other, let's say, transporting other raw materials. So a proper involvement of the concrete supplier, vendor, right at the planning stage of the project will greatly simplify, the much of the hassles later on. Right type of concrete mix design. So you need to give a sufficient time. You need to spell out your specification, your requirements for the project. How much time, what is the grade, what type of pouring that you are looking for, whether you're looking for a pumped concrete simply, whether you're going to have a self-compacting concrete, because the moment the workability of concrete increases, all sort of challenges increases for the concrete technologist who designs or handles the concrete mix. Choice of suitable pump. So I'll touch upon this as well. Setting up for pump and pipelines, installing a placing boom, cleaning the pipeline, because this happens to be one of the major, let's say, factors, because we are talking of, let's say, 500 meters, 600 meters, or 1 kilometer of vertical pumping. Imagine the amount of concrete that remains there in the pipeline. So we need to have a proper system to push concrete out either on the slab, or we need to have a system where we can suck back the concrete and keep the pipelines clean, because it would be a tremendously, let's say, difficult task to change the pipeline for any of the pipeline choking that takes place. For such type of projects, we have very small margin of errors. we cannot afford a single choking in pipeline. So all the planning should be very, very diligent and very precise. So with all due credits, I have taken this particular image from the information available on the public domain for the project named Sky Forest at Mumbai. Height of the building was around 280 odd meters, with 3 basements, 16 parkings, 2 clubhouses, 1 transfer floor. Let's say the 50 residential part refuse or services floors here. So Google Map and the location of the project here. So what is important on the plan, we need to plan where we are going to have different type of machineries installed, where we are going to place our concrete pump. Based on the area available, where we can, let's say, put our transit mixers, where we can put our concrete pumps, where we are going to put our, let's say, tower cranes here, where we are going to place our placer booms here. Let's say these are the locations where the placer booms are, let's say, installed, so that we can cover all the area that we have to cater for while, let's say, executing our projects. So installation of pump location is very important, whether the location is accessible, whether we are planning any, let's say, storage space for other materials there, or let's say we are having another storage requirements there. So all these things are very, very important at the planning stage. So overall plan of the project is very important. We need to, let's say, fix up all these things. How we are going to fix the pipelines. So proper clamping of pipelines is very important, because a slight differential movement might have some induced stresses on the let's say, couplings, on the the gaskets and all that, so that we should be replacing pipeline at locations where we should be in position to, let's say, change the pipes if needed. We should have planning for the standby pipeline. Suppose if during pumping, if some untoward choking takes place, we should immediately, let's say, switch over to standby pipeline and complete the concreting operations. Concrete mix design, I'm a concrete technologist, so I'll devote a little more time here. So concrete mix design always happens to be a challenge when we are talking of high-rise construction. So when we are talking of high-rise buildings, we are invariably talking of high-grade or the high-performance concrete. High-performance concrete, what is a challenge that we talk about the low water binder ratio. So that implies either we are working with very low water contents and or high binder contents. That means maintaining the consistency of mix is a challenge. Here, the selection of right admixture, high range water reducing admixtures, and with the right type of the workability retention molecules or the right type of retarders are very, very important. Slump retention is the most important criteria that should be there when we are talking of low water binder ratio concrete. When we are talking of high-rise concrete, we are talking of higher concrete heads. In addition to the normal, let's say, pressure, we have a pressure of concrete column as well. So that we should take into account when we are finalizing the right machine that for the pumping. There could be a specification for the E value of concrete. And when we are talking of E value of concrete, we are talking about the minimum paste content, because as we know, it is the coarse aggregate that govern the E value of the concrete, because a slight lesser E value and will have a huge impact on the displacements in the buildings, basically. We also often have a specification for the shrinkage and the creep of the concrete, that again with the we need to keep into mind while designing our concrete mix. These constructions, high-rise constructions, are invariably having congested reinforcements. So the right type of workability at the pouring point is important. And when the dimensions of the foundations or the columns or different elements are more than 1 meter, then perhaps the specification for mass concrete are also, let's say, there, so that we are limited in our use of the cement contents, OPC contents, And we have to, let's say, work with the different type of binders. So that also poses a challenge to achieve the workability. Just to give you a little bit flair about the impact of different type of materials that would have on the concrete mix. So I have just tabulated it here. And let's say when we talk of cement content, an increase in cement content, and we are analyzing this concrete in terms of the rheology of the concrete, not in terms of the slump or the flow or the slump flow of the concrete. When we are talking of rheology, we are talking about the critical shear stress and the viscosity of the concrete. So viscosity again happens to be one of the very important and major parameter for while designing the mix. So with higher cement content, we expect to have a decrease in the yield stress and increase in the plastic viscosity. When we are when we are increasing the water content, that will result in decrease in the yield stress and also decrease in the plastic viscosity. When we talk of aggregates, when the aggregate volume fraction is increased, the yield stress increases and also the plastic viscosity increases. When sand to aggregate ratio increases, there's an optimum value that we have to determine, both for the yield stress and the plastic viscosity. If you recall the chart that I have shown, so we need to determine this optimum value. Talking about shape, closer to the spherical shape, we have that is more favorable. We have a lesser, let's say, void content in the aggregate system. Talking about texture, smooth texture is preferred to as compared to the rough. We should have uniform grading where we have a higher packing density is preferred. When we talk of micro fine contents, we have a mixed results for both, let's say, yield stress and plastic viscosity. Coming to admixtures, use of a superplasticizer decreases the yield stress and impact is mixed on the plastic viscosity. When we talk of air intending agents, there's a mixed impact on the yield stress whereas the plastic viscosity is decreased. Viscosity modifying agent increases both yield stress and the plastic viscosity. Similarly, let's say supplementary cementitious material, fly ash decreases yield stress, whereas impact on viscosity is mixed, so based on the dosage of fly ash. Silica fume, again, low dosage or high dosage, we have decreased the impact on the yield stress and plastic viscosity when the dosage is less than 5%. Silica fume, when we are talking of higher dosage, let's say 8%, 10% onwards, we have increased yield stress and the plastic viscosities. GGBS, we have mixed impact on the yield stress and impact on the plastic viscosity. It increases the viscosity. Fiber reinforcement, it increases both, let's say, yield stress and the plastic viscosity. So these rheological property, impact of different materials on the rheological properties gives an idea, qualitative idea how to do it. And fine tuning is always needed while doing the mix design, trial mixes. Coming to the pump selection, we have this nomograph available with all the pump vendors, where our starting point is what is the output rate that we are anticipating. Let's say starting from 10, 20, 30, 40 up to, let's say, 110 cubic meters per hour. What is the diameter of pipeline that we are installing for our project? So based on this and diameter of pipeline, we go into go with the selection. And then coming to the slump of the concrete, let's say 12 centimeters, 8.5 centimeters, 6 centimeters, like that. So we come down to the exact slump that we propose to maintain for our mixes. And then we come to, let's say, length of the pipeline. So what is the length of the pipeline? 300 meters here. Right now, for this particular example, starting from 50 meters to, let's say, 200 meters here, 600 meters, 2000 meters here, right? So length of pipeline is increasing in this fashion. So we come across here about what is the pressure that is needed. And then we have to account for high-rise conveying. So we are adding 1 bar per 4 meter height. So 20 bar for 80 meters conveying height. So we add up and we come to the, let's say, what is the power requirement of the for the engine of the concrete pump. So that is how we design our, we select our concrete pump, concrete machinery here. Then how to install, where to install. So once we have planned, then we have to install the placing boom at the right time. We have to have a right layout of pipeline as well, right fixtures for the pipeline. And then the washing machine arrangement that we have to design, because at for such a height, we need to keep our pipelines clean after every operation. So these are a couple of, let's say, pump cleaning systems that are devised and being used at most of the high-rise sites. Coming to a couple of cases, I think I'm at 526. I'll just read it out. This case is for the post office tower at Frankfurt, Germany, done in 1977. Maximum height code was 310 meters. Here the piston diameter was 130 mm. Piston stroke was 2100 mm. 132 kilowatt electric motor pump was selected with the 120 to 190 bar pressure. Pipeline diameter was 125 millimeters. Placing boom was 12 meters mechanical pressures. And concrete design was for 100 mm slump with 420 kgs of cement content per cubic meter. And they have used the rounded gravels, 32 mm maximum size of aggregates. Another project, Riverdale Garza Power Station, Italy, done in 1994. Maximum height pump was 532 meters. Piston diameter was 150 meters, piston strokes 2100 millimeters, 200 kilowatt electric motor, 160 bar pressure. Output was 15 cubic meters per hour. Pipeline was 100 mm pipe diameter. Slump was used was 200 millimeters with cement content of 420 kgs per cubic meter. They have used crushed rocks with 16 mm maximum size of aggregate. They have used natural sand as a fine aggregates and also used microsilica in their mix. Another project of Bangkok, Thailand in 1997, I believe. Maximum height pump was 302 meters. Again, 180 mm piston diameter, 2100 mm piston stroke, 300 kilowatts diesel engine, 140 bar pressure of hydraulic pressure here, 125 millimeters per pipeline diameter. We have two booms. Boom one is 28 meters and 19 meters. Slump was 240 mm. Cement content was 395 kgs per cubic meter. Coarse aggregate was 1065 kgs per cubic meter with 12 mm maximum size of aggregate. Fine aggregate was 785 kgs per cubic meter. They have used 35 kgs of microsilica with let's say retarders and superplasticizers. Coming to the case study of Burj Dubai, very quickly. Let's say the owners were MR Properties, Dubai. Architect engineers were Adrian Smith, Skidmore, and Merrill of Chicago. Project management were done by Turner Construction International, Dubai. General contractors were Samsung, South Korea, Basics and Arab Tech. Form manufacturers were Doka, Lawrence Wille. And concrete pump use was Putzmeister, Germany. Building's final height was 800 meters, while the pumping height was 570 meters. Contractors were ready-mix concrete contractors were Unimix. Pump use was 14,000 Putzmeister HP diesel engine driven, with the engine power of 470 kilowatts, Caterpillar diesel engine, and pipeline diameter was 150 mm. So they did simulated the mock-up of the equivalent, let's say, height of 570 meters pumping by arranging a horizontal pipeline of equivalent length and bends. And once it has successfully pumped, they have. What is very important is the clamping of the pipeline, because there is a huge pressure from the pump side. If the pipelines are not secured properly, if the pipelines, the pumps are not in level, there would be differential forces, and that is going to, let's say, impact the various joints. So these are the actual, let's say, layout of the pipelines. You can see how they have specifically designed the supports, and they have properly clamped on the pipelines very properly. So they have a system of standby pipes, so that the number of pumps are installed here. Suppose any pipeline gets choked, so they can very swiftly, let's say, switch over to another pipe. Foundation type was a pile supported raft foundation with a foundation area of 7,000 square meters, having 45,000 cubic meters of concrete. For tower area, they had 200 numbers of 1.5 dia 50 meters deep piles. For wing area, they have 650 numbers of 0.9 meters dia 36 meters deep piles. Draft thickness was 3.7 meters. So definitely it was a temperature controlled mass concrete foundation. Concrete used was a grade C50 self-compacting concrete with 40% fly ash with water binder ratio, water cementitious ratio of 0.34. For superstructure, for initial pumping pressure up to 200 bars, they had a grade of concrete of 80 megapascals, ampere. Flow was 600 mm, mixed flow was 600 mm. They used 13% fly ash mixed with 10% silica fume with 20 mm maximum size of aggregate. For higher floors, let's say the again grade of concrete happened to be 20 MPa, but the design mix was changed here for the higher floors. They used 20% fly ash with silica fume and with 14 mm maximum size of aggregate. And beyond, let's say 127th floor level, the grade of concrete was M60 grade, maximum size of aggregate used was 10 mm, and the horizontal pipeline length was 70 meters. So this is also very important. We need to have sufficient, let's say, horizontal pipe to counter the weight of the concrete in the vertical pipes, so that there should not be immediate back pressure on the concrete pump. I'll skip do's and don'ts, just summarize because we are already at 5:32. So in conclusion, what I would just emphasize here that pumped concrete should fulfill all of the following criteria: that it should have a flowing consistency that is adequate slump in range of minimum, let's say 120 plus minus 20 mm for normal pumping operations, or flow of 600 millimeters or high for high-rise pumping. The concrete should be cohesive and non-segregating, non-bleeding. Aggregates used should be angular, should not be flaky or elongated, and should be well graded, so as to make sure that the voids in the aggregate system are minimum. The concrete should have sufficient fines. By fines, we are talking about particles finer than 250 microns. For example, there should be minimum 450 kgs per cubic meter of fines for 20 mm maximum size aggregate mix. So I just conclude my presentation here, and we'll go for the question and answer session here. I'll stop sharing, right?
Thank you, Dr. Maheshwari, it was an excellent presentation. Actually, in Delhi now, even CPWD is constructing multi-storied buildings. So now this, the issue of pumping of concrete and frequent choking of the pipelines, and then you have to clean the pipelines and then again fix it. This is a problem, all the engineers are, at least in CPWD, we are facing this problem. Because now we are going for buildings which are even 30-storied in Delhi. Earlier, the buildings were only, 4 to 6 story, 8-storied, and pumping was quite easy. So this is a very pertinent topic and a very pertinent presentation. Now I would invite our panelist, Mr. Manish Mokkal, for his comments before we go for question and answer session. Mr. Mokkal, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Singhal.
Yeah.
Dr. Maheshwari, excellent presentation, and you have almost covered everything that needs to be looked at when we talk about high-rise pumping. Incidentally, I think my first experience for high-rise pumping was along with Dr. Maheshwari for one of the projects that we did together in Nathani Heights, where
Right.
I was from the contractor side and Dr. Maheshwari was from Ultratech, and we were both struggling together in order to get the right mix. There were stringent requirements from the designer in terms of temperature control, in terms of creep, shrinkage, modulus of elasticity. I think all those things have been covered in the presentation very well. Just a couple of points which I would like to add to the information that was shared by Dr. Maheshwari. Yes, Dr. Maheshwari did talk about mock-ups, and they are extremely important, because unless we do a mock-up, we will not be able to understand how the entire rheology is going to work in terms of the high-rise pumping, because a lot of pressure, friction, and rheology loss, temperature rise comes into picture. during one of our, I'm just sharing my experience, when we were doing something for about 1.2 kilometers of horizontal pumping, we noticed that when you want to do such kind of pumping, though the entire process may require about, let us say, 3 hours to complete, right from the production to the point the concrete is pumped and it reaches the pouring point. But in the lab, unless and until we design a concrete which has a pumpable concrete slump for about 10 hours, we were not able to get that 3 hours operational time in the field. So the loss of slump and loss of workability versus the amount of the length of pipeline in which we have to pump, that needs to be established. Of course, it will depend upon whether you are using fly ash, you are using GGBS, whether it is natural sand or it is crushed sand. The quality of crushed sand will play a tremendous role in this entire exercise. So this is one area which needs to be very properly looked at. The length of pipeline we want to pump versus the loss of fluidity, we would say. Next important point is when we are talking of high rise, generally we are looking at the pumping of core walls, also along with slabs. Slabs may be the normal concrete, but the critical is a core wall, which is a high strength, high grade concrete. Like what we did in Nathani is something what we should look at as a practice of not designing the concrete at 28 days, but to design it for 56 or 90 days. That gives us a lot of help, lot of leverage. We are anyways going to use a lot of fly ash or GGBS microsilica in the mix. And we know that from 28 to 56, 56 to 90, there is going to be a substantial amount of jump in the strength of concrete. If we take help of that particular factor, we are able to design a concrete economical, that is one point. Plus, we are having a slightly higher water cement ratio to start with, because we are not designing it for the ultimate strength at 28 days. And that additional water cement ratio or additional water that we have in the mix gives a lot of relief when we are looking at a high rise pumping, pumping of more than 100 meters or so. Creep is one of the points which Maheshwari sir has already covered in the lecture. The concrete that we would want to pump for 200 meters is not the concrete which should be designed for a lower floors, because unnecessarily we are spending more money and we are making it a much richer mix than what we need. So probably we need to look at just like what was done in, I think, the Burj Khalifa, where for the initial floors the mix was different. As we go up, we make the mix more and more rich, or I would say more and more robust in terms of how we would want, because that is a cost. So we would also need to look at the entire thing from the cost point of view. So that is one area where we should always look at, that the concrete which is going to be pumped up to the top should not be the concrete which is going to be pumped at the lower floors. We are unnecessarily spending more money on that. Apart from that, I think it was an excellent presentation. Maheshwari sir, thank you so much for giving us a great presentation with so much of details in terms of rheology. It was excellent. Thank you so much.
So much of learning, it is time to share, and we did a lot of things together, and it's a constant learning process for everybody.
जी अच्छा, मैं आपको 2 मिनट में कॉल कर लेता हूँ जी। मैं आपको अभी कॉल बैक करता हूँ।
Hello.
So we can take up any questions if there are there.
There are some questions.
I'll just
one I will just read out the questions. Most of the people have, first of all, they have commented about the excellent presentation. So
thanks everyone, and if I'm able to, let's say, clarify a couple of basic concepts, so my purpose is served.
Now there is a question from R. Ramya. What's the difference between piston and peristaltic pumps in the terms of performance and concrete delivery for high-rise buildings?
No, look, peristaltic pumps are not there for the high-rise pumping. It's more there for the pumping of mortars, or let's say lightweight concrete not having the force aggregates. Because these piston pumps are not very suitable for pumping the mortar point of part of the cementitious systems. So peristaltic pumps can only be, let's say, used for pumping mortars or lightweight concrete sort of mixes. Piston pumps, as I explained, we have a set of pistons which pushes it, and to push it, it can be a mechanical, let's say, pushing, or it can be a hydraulic system which pushes the pistons. So for high-rise pumping, peristaltic pump is not suitable. Only the piston type of hydraulic pumps are much more suitable.
Okay. Then there's a question from Mr. Mukund Jail. He's asking how the rate of pumping and rate of placing concrete is matched all the time. And he's also asking what modifications are required for various site conditions like desert region, cold region, etc. Rate of pumping and rate of placing.
Rate of pumping and rate of placing happens to be the same thing, I believe.
What I think he's trying to ask is that you have to pour concrete in the hopper and it is being pumped. So how
Right.
do you match the two things?
So you know what's up, for that adequate number of look, rate of production, rate of placement are the two things that needs to be matched by the concrete supplier, ready-mix concrete supplier. So if we are planning to have a pouring rate of let's say 30 cubic meters per hour, so that means each of my transit mixers should be there with that particular rate. So every hour, let's say 30 cubic meter of concrete. So that means if we are having 6 cubic meter capacity transit mixers, so at least 5 transit mixers per hour should always be reaching there. So that then only it can be matched. And also, well, what is very important, what we have seen in our practical experiences, that the distance between the transit mixer in terms of time is never, let's say, being focused on. So at times we may have, let's say, 6 or 7 transit mixers waiting for the pumping. And at times we have no transit mixer or a single transit mixer that is pumping the concrete. So this is very important for on the planning part, that, if we are keeping other transit mixer in waiting, the 6th transit mixer, when it is going for the for its pumping, obviously the concrete consistency and the quality would not be the same as that of the first one, right? Because the slump drops with time. So within an hour's time, the last transit mixer concrete is definitely going to be a little bit compromised in terms of the slump, not in terms of the strength. So we need to either have to, let's say, tweak in the mix by redosing or by remixing or so. So this planning is very, very important from the ready-mix concrete suppliers point of view.
And then there's a question from Mr. Manohar Mate. He's asking, are there any chemical solutions for cleaning the pipe?
There are solution in terms of, let's say, passing a ball or pushing the concrete at the end of the operation, so that whatever concrete is there in pipeline is discharged over the slab. Number one. Alternatively, there is a wet process of cleaning of pipelines as well, where we put water from the top, or let's say put water from put a plug between the ball and the water ball as well, so that the moment the concrete is discharged on the slab, basically at the pouring point, no additional water is spilled out, and the water we are pumping is taken back into the hopper.
Okay. Then there is a question from Mr. Mukund Jail. He's asking, is the diameter of pipe same throughout for the entire height or length?
Yes.
Yeah. He's also asking about the cost of pumping for various heights.
Cost of pumping definitely is going to be different when we are talking of high-rise pumping, as because the pumping machine, the concrete pump that we talk about, are different. When we are talking of 14,000 series pumps, these are much costlier pumps. For the normal pumps, pumps are much cheaper here. I'm not, let's say, in touch with the ready-mix concrete industry for quite long. Would not be in position to, let's say, spell out the cost of different models, but yes, that will be changing with the pump model.
And size of the pump, he's asking what is size, whether the diameter.
Size one has to determine, because if we are talking about maximum, that depends on the what is the maximum size of aggregate that we are proposing to use. So as in different case studies, we have seen 100 mm diameter pipe was also used. 125 is the most prevalent. So, if we are talking about keeping the lesser inventory, then we have to go with the standard size. But if let's say we are going with a higher diameter, a higher maximum size of aggregate, perhaps we have to go with 150 mm diameter pipe. So based on the project requirement, we have to let's say decide on the pipeline diameter. And once we have decided the diameter, then perhaps for the whole operation, we have to keep the diameter same.
Then another question from Mr. Jail is that is the same set of pumping system deployed at all levels of a building where pumping is to be done, or whether changes are required as we go to higher and higher floors? Whether should we change the motor or the power of the pump as we go higher and higher?
Yeah. So the pumping machine, the concrete pump machine changes with the height, yes. But let's say for the normal operations up to, let's say 100 meters, 150 meters, there's no need of changing any machine. But yes, when we are talking of, let's say 200 meters, 300 meters, 500 meters, then the different machines need to be deployed.
Okay, then there are some questions which are there in the chat box. I will check from there also. One question is from Mr. Abhinas Nayak. He's asking for high-rise buildings. The slump during pumping is too high than the design slump. So how the issue can be resolved apart from admixtures?
The specification for slump should not only be governed by the specification of the placement means per se. Obviously, when we are talking of high rise, I'm not sure what height he's talking about. If we are talking about 300 meters odd and above, then perhaps we need to have a flowing consistency of the concrete mix.
What he's trying to ask is that one thing is we design a normal design mix and we put some admixture for slump. Now, suppose you want to pump the concrete. So do we need to provide some different kind of admixtures to make it pumpable?
It is not only admixture that governs the mix design. There are so many other factors. What is the cementitious system that we are talking about, and the compatible admixture, and that let's say target slump that we need for the pumping of concrete. So it is not only the change in admixture that will help us achieve the right consistency of the mix. So the concrete has to be looked into from the total proportioning point of view.
Mr. Mokal wants to say something.
Because if we are talking of higher slump, the potential for segregation is going to be much higher. Unless we let's make a adjustment in our mix design for that. So simply adding additional admixture is not going to help.
Okay.
Yes, Manish.
Yeah, just to add a point here, when we are looking at high-rise pumping, we should not only focus on slump, but we should also focus on the flow of the concrete, because many times the slump will probably give you a misleading figure in terms of what we are looking at, but it is exactly the flow that we need to look at. When we say that the slump is high or the slump is low, for the same slump, you can have a different flowability depending upon, as rightly Maheshwari sir said, what is the mixed proportion we are using, what is the amount of fly ash we are having, or what is the right compatible admixture that we have used. So flow is something which we need to look at. We need to understand that before pumping, what is the flow, minimum flow that I need, so that by the time my concrete is traveling the entire length, whatever that 200, 300 meters length is, and there is a certain drop in the flow, you are still able to flow, you are still able to pump the concrete, get a proper discharge. And that concrete which you get should also be workable. Many times we have noticed that by the time the concrete is pumped and it is coming out, it becomes absolutely like a log, and you are not able to properly utilize that concrete further. Finishability becomes a problem. So all those, so flow is something which you also look at when it comes to high-rise pumping. And the concept of I need a slump of 150 mm, only then I will say it is okay. Anything more than that, it doesn't work in this situation. We have to look at a completely different thought process when it comes to high-rise pumping?
I want to add in this that the design mix is more important when we are doing pumping a high rise, because admixtures are not changed, but the only type of, your mix design, which is very important, playing a role. Type of fines we are using in this.
So, there is one question which is coming to my mind. Dr. Anuj Maheshwari presented a graph where he presented a relationship between water cement ratio and the pumping pressure. Now, normally when we do design mix, our tendency is to keep the water binder ratio as low as possible, and normally we keep it around 0.37, 0.38. That is the figure we keep. And as far as I remember from your graph, I could see if the water binder ratio is around 0.45, then only you have a proper pressure for pumping.
No,
So,
sir. Actually, sir, that graph was for the pure, let's say, water and cement mix.
okay,
So no chemical admixtures were there.
okay.
So it is very easy to formulate a pumping mix for even, let's say, 0.18 or 0.2 water binder ratio as well.
Yes,
So
yes.
right selection of admixtures.
Another thought coming to mind was that is there any study or any data that suppose we go for every 50 meter or every 100-meter height or length of pumping, how much percentage of slump is lost in normal pumping?
So we cannot generalize per se,
Okay,
because it is highly dependent on the mix that we are using, how robust is the mix or not.
okay.
So, that is very difficult to quantify.
There's no thumb rule. There's no thumb rule.
No,
as
no
such.
thumb rules, yeah.
Okay, okay. I think I just check whether there are any more questions. What is the permissible wastage of concrete allowable, or does concrete wastage actually occur? I think he's asking during pumping. I don't think if pump is tight enough, there will be any wastage of concrete, because it should be watertight.
It should be watertight. Again, what happens, perhaps this question is coming from a point of view, perhaps whatever concrete is there in the pipeline.
Yeah.
So site has to make arrangement for utilization of that particular concrete for, let's say, some allied concrete works.
One question is from Mr. Sunil Kumar Rajak. In case of high-rise building, casting of slab. So place of concrete or slab casting, what is the value of compaction factor?
Compaction, when we are talking of, let's say, flow of concrete, compaction factor doesn't come into picture.
Yeah. Okay. I think there are no further questions. Anything other from Mr. Rawal or?
Good.
So I think we can conclude the session.
It was a good presentation.
Yeah,
He has given a lot of
good.
insight about the design mix and also about the pumps also.
Hmm.
Really very informative, I say.
Yeah. Now I would
You're all
invite.
enlightened.
Yeah. Now I would invite our treasurer, Mr. Wadhwa, for his vote of thanks before we formally conclude. Mr. Wadhwa.
Yes, sir. Good evening to the respected speaker, panelist, moderator, all the participants, and associates of Indian Concrete Institute, New Delhi Center. After an excellent presentation by the honorable speaker, very useful comments and observations by the eminent panelists, and the intervention of participants through interesting questions, it is my proud privilege to express gratitude and propose a vote of thanks to one and all. On behalf of Indian Concrete Institute, New Delhi Center, in association with CE and CR powered by Revod Media, I would like to thank the Honorable Speaker, Dr. Anuj Maheshwari ji, Vice President, Concrete Structures and Architecture, Reliance Industries Limited, for his excellent and enlightening presentation on the unique topic, challenges in high-rise pumping. He talked about the need of pumping of concrete up to 500 meter in vertical and about 1000 meter in horizontal through various type of concrete pumps like mechanical pumps, hydraulic pumps, trailer mounted pumps, mobile boom pumps, pneumatic pumps, etc. He explained about the concrete rheology, comparison of conventional and present day concrete. He spoke regarding the concrete pumpability issues, including selection and installation of suitable pumps for a particular project, and its transportation issues by high-rise structures. Thank you so much, sir, for the fabulous and knowledgeable lecture. We are also thankful to our eminent panelist, engineer Manish Mokalji, TGM Quality Excellence Cell, Afcons Infrastructure Limited, for consenting to be guest panelist and deliberating and offering his valuable feedback and comments. Thank you, sir. Thanks to Engineer Rajiv Singhal ji, Chief Engineer Deputy and Chairman ICI NDC, and today's moderator for very well managing and carrying out this 9th webinar in the series in an extremely professional way. Thank you, sir. Our sincere thanks to Engineer Vinay Gupta ji, National President ICI and Director and CEO TCPL, who is an expert civil engineer and advisor related to concrete design matters of all type of structures. His efforts for guiding in arranging such interesting webinars for the benefit of civil engineers, contractors, consultants, and students all over the country through Indian Concrete Institute is highly commendable. Thank you, sir, for your devotions towards ICI and love and affections for ICI NDC in particular. Sincere thanks to Engineer Supradeep Das ji, Vice President ICI North Zone, Engineer Rajiv Singhal ji, Chairman, Dr. VVL Kantarao ji, Honorary Secretary, Engineer Mayank Rawal ji, and all the committee members of ICI NDC for taking initiative and making sincere efforts in arranging unique lectures by inviting specialists in their respective fields for the knowledge of all the concrete lovers. I want to express my wholehearted gratitude and thanks to the entire team of our associates, Mr. Civil Engineering and Construction Review, CE and CR, and Revert Media for their logistics support and making necessary arrangement in organizing this webinar in a smooth manner. Last but not the least, I am thankful to all the concrete loving participants for attending and making this webinar successful. Thank you once again. I take leave now. Jai Hind.
Thank you.